You said I was cursed. You think I'm weak because I'm not like you.
Destroy us!
I know what I'm asking.
But I am your monster no longer.
Nah. But at least I know the truth now.
The truth. The truth. I am a god, boy. From another land far from here. When I came to these shores, I chose to live as a man. But the truth is, I was born a god. And so were you. Boy, have you nothing to say?
Can I turn into an animal?
Can you turn into an animal? No. No, I do not think so.
It's been over a year since I made my original video on this subject, and since then, the Valhalla expansion for God of War Ragnarok has come out and affirmed my theories. And it's still a fantastic game, solid gameplay that builds on the efforts of the first soft reboot, tremendous music and a score to rival any of the other greats. Characters that look and feel real, true, and authentic, regardless of their fantastical origin. But what is at the beating heart, at the beginning of this massive, awe-inspiring world? The monsters underneath the surface. The demons that hide in the corners of our mind and make us feel like we are incapable of escaping from ourselves. God of War Ragnarok shows us what was already known, that not all gods are pure and kind, if any. Most are bitter, petty, driven by fear or pride. They are almost human, if not for their lack of remorse and empathy, allowing them to wipe out entire civilizations and landscapes without any more than a worry. Ragnarok works to show us what it takes to beat that monster, to overcome that darkness within the gods and within us. Each god has their own monster just under the surface, and not just Kratos alone. Of course, the classic God of War can be a wrathful beast, but by strength he can grow to be better. Freya is afflicted by a craving for vengeance against those that wronged her, but learns to put it aside in order to help those who need her. Thor is a destructive monster just like Kratos, and this is done on purpose. Almost a mirror to what Kratos might have been if he were not so stubborn and driven by the same vengeance that now affects Freya. Truly, the more you look at the different Aesir and Vanir, the more they just start to look like Kratos.
How does peace strike the esteemed, retired God of War? How about we just don't kill each other? How about you stay home, kick up your feet, seek no quarrel with me, and I'll have none with you.
Odin is driven by his lust for knowledge and control. He is manipulative. These traits wash down onto Heimdall, and these are the only two gods who don't learn to move past their own demons. Heimdall is seduced by Odin and the cause that he preaches when Odin cares not for him in return. And the fate of the Asgard's watchman, he dies. Also unable to let go of his grip on power even up until his death, Odin's refusal to give in and reluctance to put all of his power and abilities to good use end in his death too.
You can choose to be better.
No, I can't. I have to know what happens next. I will never stop.
A strong thread through the middle of the game is given to us directly from Faye.
The problem doesn't have to reach our doorstep for it to be our responsibility. If we have the power to limit the harm it could cause, we should act.
Odin is the one god who never used his power to help, And even when he was being helpful, such as with the Midgardians, it was only ever to further his own agenda. How do the others relate to this though? To be better. Going down our list, some are fairly easy to find. Many of the minor characters like Freyr are easy to see, a god who has always been desired and good-willed, finally shoving off his maverick spirit in order to lead by example and sacrifice himself for something more purposeful. This line of learning applies best to our main cast: Kratos, Freya, Atreus, and Thor. So let's begin with that last one.
We don't change. Destroy us!
Thor has immense power, but like Kratos in a younger spirit, it is only ever aimed at the enemies of Odin, rather than at the people he could be helping. He is reclaimed as a hero and legend, if not only for the propaganda that he is fighting the good fight. Thor accepts his fate as a destroyer and seems to think, in no small part to Odin's constant reinforcement, that he will never change. He falls into these depressive episodes and does what he can to reclaim his individuality, bullying those around him to make the stupid god feel powerful. But it's a farce. He's trapped within his own mind, fighting with his sons Magni and Modi, with Heimdall, even with Atreus. Thor begins to see a glimmer of hope, and his viewpoint finally shifts differently when Atreus and Sif speak to him about turning on Odin. But when he gets into battle at Ragnarok, the half-giant destructor sees nothing but an enemy in a man like Kratos, especially when Kratos and Atreus are around his daughter Thrud. After just killing Heimdall and the Valkyries, Thor is untrusting, feeling as if he has to be that monster, that destroyer to protect his home, unaware that it's Odin's own hubris and ambitions that brought this war upon his family. Despite all the efforts made by his family, Thor cannot see differently until he sees an equal, not in power, but in stature. Kratos, the ghost of Sparta, a force of nature and a destroyer like Thor, and that same ghost refuses to fight him. Unlike everyone else who demands that Thor be better or change, or like Odin who controls and manipulates his own son even to the end.
Why isn't he dead? Are you talking? Who told you to do that? You don't talk! You don't think! I think, you kill! It's a simple fucking concept!
Kratos, a destroyer like Thor, shows the god of thunder that there is the option to be better. He does not tell Thor to shape up, but instead lays down his own weapon and leaves it up to Thor himself. The choice is not forced on him, but he's left to make it alone.
No more. For the sake of our children, we must be better.
The smallest gesture is perfect to teach Thor that all this time he did not have to listen to that monster, to Odin, to the destroyer, that his destiny is his own. Unfortunately, this is something that Thor learns too late, and it costs him.
You will die, Kratos of Sparta.
But you called him the destroyer of fate. There must be a way to subvert destiny.
There is no destiny, Puck.
The protagonists are speechless. They do not understand.
There is no grand design, no script. Only the choices you make. That your choices are so predictable merely make us seem prescient.
When my son was born, shut up!
Destiny is important to the main story of God of War 2018, Ragnarok, and even Valhalla. It's a through line in the first game, and the second begins to show that with enough willpower, one's destiny can be made their own. Just because something is written doesn't mean that it will be true, or even more so, that it does not have to take the shape in which it was originally drawn. The first example of sidestepping destiny is Atreus and his choice to help the giants. The greatest fight that the son of the ghost faces are the monsters of others. Odin's wont to use him for power, Kratos imparting his misguided wisdom, Freya turning him away when he seeks nothing but help. Atreus is not ready and immediately gives in to the way he's been told. As Kratos ran away to hide in the woods, when Atreus tries and fails with the serpent, he goes to run away.
Loki, are you certain?
Call me Atreus.
Not until his test with Fenrir does Atreus understand what Kratos means to avoid fate. Being forced up against an immovable object and an unstoppable force, it takes the originality of Atreus to subdue the beast and bring forth new life. Without him, the Spartan may have leveled all of Helheim in an attempt to stop the wolf. He shows us that there is always another way, that doesn't even require violence.
I am sorry.
Don't be sorry, Father. Be better.
Be better. In a vacuum, this advice would be harmful at worst. But like the Master Jedi Yoda in Empire Strikes Back, do or do not, there is no try, the advice is circumstantial. The gods have the power to be better. They have that change within them, and they can use that change for good. So rather than throwing in the towel, then running away to the woods to retire, they stand up. Finally getting on the same page, this is where Kratos and Atreus can understand one another. The humanity in Atreus to want to help, and the godhood of Kratos to be able to help.
You feel their pain because that is who you are. And you must never sacrifice that. Never. Not for anyone. I was wrong, Atreus. I was wrong. Open your heart. Open your heart to their suffering. That is your mother's wish. And mine as well. Today's. Today, we will be better.
Atreus is better by taking the advice of the monsters around him, but applying his own logic onto it. Not only does he have to be strong and quick in order to help those around him, but he can be strong and a force for good, something Kratos could never even think possible after all of the pain and suffering that he caused in his stature as a god.
There's still a part of me that is so angry. And it'll always be angry. But no. You are not the one who needs to die.
In the realm of changing fate and seeking to be better, Freya is a god betrayed by her spouse and burdened by pain. Losing her people, her son, bitter and lusting for revenge, she grows blind in rage to take it out on the only one she can, Kratos. Odin is too far out of sight and she can't even leave Midgard, so what changes? What forces her to abandon this quest? She sees Kratos protect Atreus from himself, an action she would only wish for after the unrelenting path that Baldur was on. In this moment, she comes to realize that the relationship between Kratos and Atreus is similar to her own with Baldur, but that she had acted too late to try and fix things.
You would speak to me of protecting your child? Is my tragedy not enough of a lesson? Fighting fate is a waste of the precious time we're given to spend with them.
The smallest glimmer of trust through Atreus, the innocence of childhood, is what bore her to give Kratos a chance, as he vowed to free her from Odin's curses, even as she threatened harm against him in the process. The trip through Vanaheim helps to show that Kratos and Freya, both warriors of their people with a history of violence, are not too different. The main stake between them is that Freya is a protector with nothing left but vengeance. All that the Ghost of Sparta had was vengeance, but now he's a protector, but it's a selfish protection. By protecting Atreus, he seeks to protect the only peace in his life through Faye and the woodland cabin. He selfishly protects himself and his family because he's haunted by a monster that tells him he's incapable of good, incapable of helping whatsoever. When Freya is finally freed and Kratos apologizes for robbing her of choice, she doesn't try to kill him, but she doesn't forgive him either, but instead sees that Kratos is not the one deserving of her vengeance. Odin is.
No need to explain. Not to me. Not for that.
It's the Allfather's monster that corrupted Baldur and sent him on that path. And while Kratos might see revenge as a fool's notion, he remains on the sideline of Freya's wrath to not rob her of choice the second time. Our monsters control us, but rather than fighting one monster over another, Freya needs to fight her own demons alone, in the same way he gives choice to Thor later on.
I swore I would never rob from you the choice between life and death.
Freya's eventual mercy over Odin, the one who was near to cost her everything, is the ultimate culmination of her wrath being subdued by the example that Kratos has now set. The general, who killed all of Greece, refuses to fight if he does not have to, giving mercy to all, even Thor. And in the same vein, Freya chooses to spare Odin, but only if that a life inside of a marble is no life at all. The revenge instead is only carried out by Sindri, a bystander who lost everything to Odin's trickery and is truly deserving of the smash, but also saves Freya from consuming herself in her anger.
That's what comes next.
When an animal is wounded, it must stop the bleeding, or it will die. We have been wounded, and this is a distraction.
Finally, we have Kratos, the Ghost of Sparta, the God Killer, the monster. But in the end, that monster dies. Kratos' death was foreshadowed in the first game, shown to be his end fate, and saving him was Atreus' main goal in the story of Ragnarok. Kratos never actually dies, of course, but the killer, the monster, does. The story and world affirm that fate only controls you if you let it. Kratos says this himself. Those who do not change, as we've seen, are controlled by their fate, and they fall victim to it. But Kratos does not let fate control him, not by trying to outsmart or beat it, but by changing himself and therefore his fate. These changes are small at first, but they build and build upon themselves.
Father! Brother?
Seeing several visions of his dead wife, Kratos is stirred up from sleep after speaking to Faye in his dreams. I do not think these are just so painful for him to watch as to make him disturbed, but rather the beast, the monster inside Kratos, is fighting for control, trying to convince him that he could never be the savior that Faye can see within him. None of the memories are particularly painful. They encounter a wounded wolf, sail with a newborn son, and make preparations for Faye's passing. But in each and every memory, Faye tells Kratos with increasing tenacity to use his power for good. And at first, he cannot accept that his power could even be used for good. He wakes up in a struggle because all he can do when he lets his guard down is pick it right back up. Even when he performs good acts, like helping Atreus free the Half-Gufa, it is something he sees as Atreus doing. He is just there to help, to be the muscle. Or when they would save the spirits and the Valkyries, Kratos refused that he was helping, but merely that it was just a side effect of him going for something else, provisions or gear for their journey. It is not until Kratos sees what his help can do, when he's shown another way after Atreus finds a peaceful way to handle the spectral wolf and turn it into an ally, when he sees Atreus' peaceful sleep on the night before Ragnarok, that he even considers that his powers can be used to create a safe space, a beacon for hope, and an anchor for others to hold on to, rather than hurting those around him.
To grieve deeply is to have loved fully. Open your heart to the world as you have opened it to me, and you will find every reason to keep living in it.
The phrase, "be better," is everywhere in these games. It's practically the Spartan's mantra, but it's not until here that he comes to the realization that you can't just tell someone to be better, and that they'll follow through on it. It is in each and every one of us to choose to be better. If we have the ability to help, we should. When he accepts that his powers can be good, he is no longer sorry for having helped. He becomes better and is able to sleep peacefully. The other main way to see Kratos' progress is in the interactions he has with Freya and Thor. He can relate to both gods, both losing a family and being an unstoppable destroyer, but with Freya, he holds his axe ready. Not because he thinks that she can be a real threat, but because he doesn't even consider that after everything, that Freya would be kind to Kratos in return, that she would choose to move past it even if it were just for a time. He does not wield his weapon and yield combat because he expects a tough fight, but simply because he expects fighting to be the only solution to their schism. Of course, Freya does not take arms against Kratos, and he's shown that there's another way. Because if you have all the power, you should help. So when he comes face to face with Thor, he fights at first. He tries it his way, but it doesn't work. It's clear that if he chooses to fight, he and Thor will continue to battle and spread pain until one or both of them are dead. So instead, he chooses to yield and put his weapons away, choosing to do good and give the God of Thunder a chance at life with his family, a choice that he and Odin took away from Freya, but not one he would even take from Thor.
Don't you know what I've done? Yes! But what will you do now?
What did you see in there, brother?
Path.
All around him thought they could see Kratos for what he was, a destroyer, a monster. Athena tells him this, Freya does, Thor does, Odin does. Even Atreus starts to think that Kratos might not be able to change after he forges the spear. The difference between Kratos' saving of Freya from Baldur and the mercy of Thor demonstrates his understanding of one's own choices and what it does to feed their monster. When retrieving the Blades of Chaos, Athena would call out the monster. This wasn't wrong, but as the man puts it,
"You will always be a monster."
I know. But I am your monster no longer.
he accepts his status in the world as a destructive force that can only hurt those around him even when he's trying to do the right thing. But Faye could see through Kratos. She could see the god of war. Where his fate was to die in Ragnarok, she could see a god as powerful as the Spartan could not just be better, but do good things and be loved for it. Kratos choosing to give mercy to Thor is him growing past this monster that just kills for the greater good. He must choose to be better. The panel behind the final prophecy, showing his travels from Greece through to the death of the monster, also reveals to Kratos what Faye had seen all along. The god of war, fighting not for vengeance or hatred, but for hope.
Loki will go. Atreus. Atreus remains.
In a single sentence, Kratos accepts his son for who he is. He accepts that the world is worth something and that he has the power to be better and to save those around him. I find it so beautiful that even a man so broken and distraught as Kratos, who believes that everything he touches is going to be destroyed and lost, can learn that his powers can be used responsibly for the well-being of others. That we all have the choice to change. That being better is not something you do, but something you have to make the actual active choice to make happen. And this is later reinforced during Kratos' sessions with Tyr in Valhalla. The whole messaging here is not about forgetting the past or ignoring what had come before, but showing Kratos that he is more than the monster. That he is not defined by the evil things he had brought onto others in the past. It is not meant to erase or eliminate the sins of his past, but merely accepting them as truth, rather than to blame it upon some amorphous thing that isn't real. The monster died because Kratos is more than a monster. He is the god of war, and he has to accept all that comes with that.
You are cruel, and arrogant, and selfish. But you are more than that. You have always been more than what others saw. You are more than that.
Yes, Kratos has done awful things, some in the name of noble ends, some in vain and petty pursuits, but Kratos has also become a savior. He is also a caring father, a hero to the realms of Yggdrasil. He fights for the betterment of his family and to protect his friends. And it's understanding, knowing where to draw the line, that will make him better at doing so. He cannot undo all the things done in service of his demons, but he can understand why he committed the sins that he did and learn from them. This is what makes him better. Over the course of the duology, Kratos learns what it means to be human again, to fail griefly, and to understand his failures. How he failed Freya and goes past it, and how he nearly failed Atreus. It's astounding to me how the entirety of the first game and a half of Ragnarok focuses on Atreus' bewilderment of Tyr and his capacity for peace. A god of war who seemed to take up arms only in the defense of others. And by the end of Ragnarok, Kratos can become that figure too, not only to Atreus or to the other gods or even the normal people he helps along the way, but even to himself. Kratos is able to move past and kill his monster. The god of war emerges once more, but fights for love, not hate. no longer a slave to that demon that kept him trapped in a world of doubt and worry, and finally, he can be better.
Did you find what you needed? Glad to hear it, brother. We're done here then, so, what now?
Now, I believe I would like to sit here for a while.
Hey, if you've gotten this far, thank you for watching the video. If you're a legendary 2023 Buster subscriber, you'll probably notice this was a remastering of the God of War video I made in July of last year. But that was also a time when I had a lot less skill when it comes to editing, among other things. And as a video I really enjoyed, I wanted to remake it in glorious HD. And oh boy, we've grown so much since then. Sitting at roughly 12,000 subs today, and I couldn't be more proud of all of this. Don't worry, next week we're doing Sith Lords in Warhammer. It's gonna come back. So once again, thank you all for watching, liking, and sharing the videos, and subscribing to the channel. I'll see you next time. Stay cool, have fun, and be awesome. Buster out.
A hole.
What?
Gets bigger the more you take away.